boy, the girl, one and only, Ai Pai. 2019 has been a bit of a year. A lot of games have come out, and I managed to turn in my gamer card, so I missed out on most of them. Of course, it's not just the end of the year, but also the end of a decade. Despite revoking my gamer title, I think it's still possible to use my experience for gaming dating back to the 80s, around a game of the decade for the decade of 2010 to the end of 2019. Warframe. There have been plenty of Mastercraft games that have come out in this time span. Instant classics like The Witcher 3, Nier Automata, GTA 5, Death Stranding. While plenty of these might be technically, critically, and artistically superior to Warframe, I don't feel any of them really set and proven trends in the same way it has. Warframe and its creators, Digital Extremes, have managed to find success pioneering new methods of marketing and monetization, methods that many of the developers and publishers would end up using later in the decade as well. And they would do this all while maintaining a level of integrity, not perfect integrity, I will admit, but a level still, in managing to transform their game from this to this. And ending the decade, moving towards something a little more like this. Let me be frank. This isn't a review. I'm not trying to convince you that you should or shouldn't play Warframe. If you've heard of Warframe, you've probably already made your decision, and if you haven't, well, go check out SkillUp's review, or go ahead and dive in yourself, because that'll really be the only way to decide yourself. Instead, consider this a small look back in the achievements of Warframe. Warframe released into closed beta in 2012 with an official release in 2013. Since then, Warframe has spent a large portion of its time in the top 10 games by current players, only starting to taper off of that recently. This was a time when free-to-play was a four-letter word, a game space occupied by cheaply made imports from Asian publishers or games trying to ape World of Warcraft too hard for such a model to sustain. Despite this, Warframe managed to find success and thrive while others failed at the same time. A feat especially impressive as Digital Extremes managed to maintain themselves as an independent studio and publisher. They've done this by carefully crafting a balance between respect for a player's time and an active avoidance in pay-to-win tactics. Just about everything in the game can be earned through the investment of time over money, and even still, the paid currency, Platinum, can be freely traded by players in-game. While there have been some questionable items for sale, relics are just loot boxes you pay for with time instead of money! What, you can just buy the mods you kill the liches with? My god, these repair costs are so high, it's like you've gotta buy a repair drone to do anything with them! Why, here about 5,000 mutagen samples! Typically, DE has been good about maintaining that balance throughout the life of the game. Games as a service, live games, two very common buzzwords that you would hear in recent times. EA would chase after these with the likes of the new Battlefront 2, with Anthem. Activision would pivot to this with Destiny 2. Ubisoft would follow this trend with most of their properties as well. While the MMORPGs of yesteryear would be the main sources of inspiration, I feel Warframe stands as a pivotal example of adapting the idea of a long running, constantly updating game with a less than massive multiplayer scope and being successful at it. Digital Extremes was also one of the first game development studios to embrace the rise of new social and digital media platforms, most notably Twitch.tv. Not only has DE reached out to support and cultivate community through their Warframe Partners program, they also dove into Twitch themselves, hosting streams from within their own offices. Dev streams, community engagement streams, all run on weekly slash bi-weekly, depending on the show, schedules. Even the main stage from the Warframe-centric convention, TennoCon, is broadcast live on Twitch and Mixer. The game itself has been very transformative in a way not many others have been. The closest examples I can think of are World of Warcraft and maybe Final Fantasy XIV. With Warframe, what started as a rather stiff, fairly run-of-the-mill third-person shooter with a sci-fi skin, rather quickly morphed into a more fast-paced, hyperkinetic ninja action that dominates the identity of what Warframe is today. Place on top of that a number of sandbox playgrounds that break free from the linear corridors of the game's base foundation. And most recently, the logical extreme that also probably most accurately seeks to realize the original vision for Warframe and Dark Sector, the game which preceded it. Ship-to-ship space combat that combines the sandbox gameplay with almost seamless transitions into more linear style levels, with a dose of asynchronous multiplayer multitasking. A game style that sees groups of players manage a spaceship and raid outposts and facilities while also engaging in dogfights with other space fighters. Add to this a fleshing out of the lore and the story that accompanies it all. Starting with static 2D heads and written text doing little jabs and hints during the missions, the game has evolved, finally culminating in fully animated cinematic quests complete with cutscenes that, while maybe are not the best in the industry, they can certainly hold up on their own.
Queens? The Grenier Queens? Tell me what?
I am warning you. You think you're safe behind this metal, but you're not. Not in the ways that matter here. Behind this, you're still just a child.
Stop saying that.
And that's not to say there haven't been problems. Warframe has definitely had its stumbles and setbacks, whether it's buggy updates, missed deadlines, or questionable monetization aspects. The game is still pretty grind intensive, especially when driving towards endgame goals. But all the success Warframe and DE have been despite these setbacks. When Warframe released into closed beta and I managed to worm my way to get access, I hesitated to jump on one of the 3 founders paths available. I didn't see where the game was headed at the time, saw a lot of limitations, and felt too uncertain about the course the game would take from where it was. I ended up backing another game trying to break ground at the same time, Firefall. It's a mistake I regret in hindsight, as Firefall's servers shut down in 2014, and Warframe flourished well past that. Of course, sitting here at the end of the decade, I find Warframe to be in a very similar situation to the way the game launched. With Empyrean, the game is essentially seeing a second actual beta phase, with hints of something amazing for the future, but a questionable sense for if what is currently there will manage to reach that. It's just something that we will have to wait for and see as DE picks the reins back up in January to continue driving Empyrean to that promise the Tennokan stage presentations put forth. But just perhaps, it's that uncertainty that makes it so exciting to be along for the ride with. Hello! Ai Pai here with a personal message to all of you loyal followers and fans out there. 2019 has been a rough year for us here, as I'm sure some of you that have been following for a while know. It's not just us, there's some other folks in Giggles we've also had a bit of a time of a year. But it's the end of the year and the end of a decade, and we made it through in no small part due to the support of the lovely fans and supporters out there, not just on YouTube, but also on twitch.tv. I'm hoping to get things back on track with 2020. Start off the new decade in a better way than 2019 ended. And I hope all of you out there will keep along for the ride. And if it's the first time you're seeing Ai Pai, the virtual digitainment, or Giggle Squee, then I hope you'll tag along as well. Like this video, hit the subscribe button, and follow the official Ai Pai Twitter to know when videos go live on YouTube or when live streams start on Twitch. Or, you could just go follow and subscribe on Twitch as well. That way we can see it when 2020 finally rolls around for real.